I don't want us to happen. I've told you where the vehicle is.
The truck was actually coming from Ring Road. It missed a step.
What we are witnessing these days, it is something we can no longer understand.
They should stop telling us and promising us all those promises are fake, giving us this set of promises are fake. We don't want it anymore.
State capital. I am Evelyn Izibili, and now to the news in details. The national president of the Professional Drivers on Wheel and special advisor to Governor Monday Okpebholo on transport matters, Comrade Adams Ehi Aliyah Shaba, has reaffirmed Governor Okpebholo's commitment to keeping major roads and city centers clean and free from any form of traffic congestion and street trading. BeeTv News Osarigi Agwebo reports that Comrade Adams Ehi made the remark during a massive traffic control exercise he led at Urban Market. The report is presented by Best Orator.
Edo State must clean.
Yes, sir.
Whether the devil like it or not. That is the order of Mr. Governor.
On the 20th of this month, that will complete 6 years where this market goes. Yes.
Urban Market and its environs witnessed a significant improvement in human and vehicular movement as members of the Professional Drivers on Wheel, led by the National President and Special Advisor to Governor Okpebholo on Transport Matters, Comrade Adams Ehi Aliyah Shaba, took to the road to clear traffic congestion and lawlessness on the road. The Urban Market walkway, usually bustling with activities, was also cleared, and vehicles and traders parking and trading in unauthorized areas were directed to vacate. At the various points, Comrade Shaba advised the commercial motorists and traders to keep the roads free and clean, aligning with Governor Okpebholo's effort to maintain a clean and orderly state.
They say, yeah, different points. When they give our driver the clean, how make our driver they get us in? Now points in our drop, this one they say drop.
In an interview with journalists, the National President, Professional Drivers on Wheel and Special Advisor to the Governor, Comrade Adams Ehi, said the traffic control exercise by his team was part of their efforts to return orderliness to Urban Market in line with the mandate of the State Governor.
Our mission with the instruction of Mr. Governor is to remove buses from the road and the traders in the walkway, which we have been doing. We started this operation last week in New Benin. Today, New Benin is clear. Then we resume today in Ring Road. After we finish with Ring Road, we go to Etiosa to make sure that those State is looking good to the eyes of the travelers. Because Ring Road is the habit of Benin. Every motor coming from all states, they must follow Ring Road. They must follow New Benin. Now, what did they see for Ring Road? They know whether governor did the state or whether governor not there. So since morning, we have commented on it. The Professional Drivers on Wheel and his team, they have been doing it. You can see everywhere now it's so clear, and we will sustain it. But from next tomorrow, we are going to put men on ground to be patrolling. Today is a warning to the marketers so that they can remove their load from the road. I will never allow any of my people to throw away their load. Because my money they take by them. But I will also beg them as a mother to obey the law.
Commissioner also intervened to help traders affected by the burnt urban market who were trading on the walkways, ensuring pedestrians can use the walkways without any inconvenience.
Yeah, now where the fire affects for urban market. And as far as say, the government of Edo State, under the leadership of Senator Monday Okpebolo, they have already awarded the contract made them build this market. Why I want to talk about here, so that when governors see this video, they don't know say, they say that they clear some place, they don't clear some place. Here from this big gate, now be where contractor they work for urban market. Most of the traders inside they don't come outside. And the only thing when I want to do for them, that to arrange them come up for road small.
Thank you, sir.
So that God forbid bad thing, make motor not go fair break.
Thank you, sir.
With the farm money, no me say we'll come down for where we the farm money.
Thank you, sir.
So I go advise you now. Why I talk this thing so that make people when they poke nose for government tax. I say, Shaba don't do here. I be get people here. Yeah. I not get mama here. I not get brother here. But the fact remains that here, now for the work for some market, yes. And these people, they have to leave the market, come outside. So I go advise them, I go arrange them, make them come off for road so that make the road go multiple. So that make them for see they get their own daily bread. Not be watching on the farm.
A trader, Mr. Sado, who spoke on behalf of the traders, appreciated Comrade Adam Sehi for his effort in ensuring orderliness in the market.
I want to thank Edo State Governor, where we say we want to do this market for us. As he talked that day, it really started. As you see now, market don't really start. We will be say with the share for year. Our side boom. Now make us they work with. Although we really to go road, as of that corner say more cheaper, he want show us where we want to stay, and we not go disobey, we not go pass the line. And our Edo State Governor, Monday Okpebolo, now God go bless you. The prayer when we get as you take start all the work what they do for Edo State, not be only this urban market. When me even go my village that day, opposite the light, the road where you they do for here, not be there, not be here. The only prayer when me get for you, may God give you strength and wisdom when you take finish all the work. As we be say, we be market women, we dey here with the also. Now God will still bless us as they do this market. On the 20th of this month, that will complete 6 years where this market goes. Yes. You can't be saying now you be our Nazareth. Where one come on for this suffer for inside this day. Now God will give you long life.
The professional drivers on Wheel pledged to sustain the exercise until the urban market road is completely free of disorderly lanes. Best Orator reporting for BeeTv News.
For months now, the litigation in the disputed Edo State Governorship Election Petition Tribunal has been on. Recently, the Court of Appeal sitting in Abuja upheld the decision of the trial court that affirmed the election of Senator Monday Okpebolo as the duly elected governor of Edo State. Now the certified true copy of the judgment is out. Our senior reporter, Best Orator, in this special report is revisiting the issues determined by the Court of Appeal.
Any moment from now, the Supreme Court, which is the apex in the judicial system, we begin hearing in the appeal filed by the candidates of the People's Democratic Party in the September 21 Edo governorship election. Dr. Asueleme Igodalo are praying the Supreme Court this time to nullify the election of Senator Monday Okpebolo and declared him as the winner of that election. Well, it is a common knowledge that the appeal court on 29th of April 2025 had affirmed the decision of the trial court tribunal that affirmed the election of Senator Monday Okpebolo as the duly elected governor of Edo State. And now dissatisfied by this decision, the PDP and its candidates are now proceeding to the Supreme Court. Well, like it is said, the court does not give what you do not ask for. for the appeal court and even the tribunal. They have said that the petitioners have failed to prove their case of non-compliance and other issues brought before it. And so in this special report, we are delving into the certified true copy of the recently delivered judgment of the Court of Appeal that sat in Abuja. There were 3 issues identified by the Appellant Counsel for determination by the Court of Appeal. Firstly, the appellants wanted the appeal court to determine that whether having regard to the pleading of the parties, the applicable laws and judicial precedents, the tribunal was wrong when it rejected the oral and documentary evidence led by the appellants as proof of facts of non-compliance with the provisions of Section 73(2) and 51(2) of the Electoral Act 2022, and in holding that the appellant did not prove ground 1 of the petition. Secondly, whether having regard to the pleadings of the parties, the quality of evidence led by the appellants, and the state of the law as laid down by the Supreme Court, the tribunal was wrong to hold that the appellants did not prove their case of collation of incorrect scores, exclusion of the results of 75 polling units, and that the appellants did not prove ground 1 of the petition. And lastly, whether having regard to the pleadings and upon a proper evaluation of the evidence and the correct application of the law, the tribunal was wrong when it dismissed the petition. In the view of the appellants, there was no need for the testimony of eyewitnesses on the point that requisite forms were filled and that tribunal was in error when it held that the exhibits were dumped on it. They insisted that oral evidence was not necessary to prove the case of the appellants. The PDP complained that the tribunal discountenanced statutorily mandated forms. Determining the grounds of the petition, Justice Olabode Abimbola Adegbehigbe, who read the judgment and the position of the Court of Appeal, said the position of the tribunal in dismissing the petition represents the current state of the law, going by the standards set by the Supreme Court, and until those standards shift or are shifted, all lower courts in the judicial hierarchy are mandated to follow the trace set by the Supreme Court. He said the tribunal was right in its decision to dismiss the case of the appellant on the basis of the reasons given in its judgment, and that the exercise may take some time and space. The court said the appeal of the appellants gravitates around whether or not a particular form EC25B was filled with appropriate information as claimed by the appellant to satisfy the requirements of Section 73(2) of the Electoral Act 2022, and that the respondent's case was that all forms were filled in requirements of the section, and that the appellants failed to tender Form EC25B, which is the most opposite form envisaged by Section 73. The court said it is glaring that from the provisions of Section 73, that where the admitted document relied on to prove the alleged non-compliance with a provision of the Electoral Act does not on its face manifest it, then oral evidence must be called to prove it, that the forms EC8B, EC8C, and EC40G and other documents tendered by the petitioners to prove their allegations of overvoting, non-accreditation, non-holding, and cancellation of election do not manifestly disclose any of the non-compliance alleged by the petitioners, adding that there was therefore need for the petitioners to call oral evidence concerning the documents tendered. The court said the tribunal correctly decided that the documents were dumped and correctly refused to accord them probative value, adding that it was glaring that the petitioners failed woefully to produce evidence that established overvoting, non-holding, or cancellation of election results and non-accreditation of voters. It concluded by saying that PW2, PW3, PW4 to PW10, not being polling unit agents, were not competent witnesses to testify in the first place regarding whether or not the forms in question were properly filled or not filled at all. It added that notwithstanding the provision of Section 137 of the Electoral Act 2022 and paragraphs 46(4) of the first schedule to the Electoral Act 2022, the petitioner is obligated to demonstrate with cogent and unassailable oral evidence clearly demonstrating the alleged non-compliance. The petitioners must not sit and merely predicating reliance upon the provisions of Section 137 of the Electoral Act 2022. The Court of Appeal said besides the BVAS machines that were clearly dumped on the tribunal without being demonstrated in any space or form, that PW7 merely identified them and asked the question on what basis could the trial tribunal have made its findings on the issue of overvoting. Addressing the second issue, the Court of Appeal said the appellants were fixated on the fact that it is Form EC 25B which must be filled with all particulars of inspected sensitive materials prior to the commencement of polls. It maintained that it is imperative to state that there is nowhere it is stated that details of beavers machines should be recorded in forms in the polling unit booklets prior to the commencement of polls, contrary to the muscularly aggressive contention of the appellants. In the certified copy of the Court of Appeal, the court noted that the appellant's case was built on avoidable false premise to the effect that the form to be filled is Form EC 25B, whereas in the same booklet they tendered, there is glaring evidence of compliance in Exhibit EC 40A and in other form. In these circumstances, the decision of the tribunal, according to the Court of Appeal, where it held that appellants failed to prove non-compliance with Section 73(2) of the Electoral Act 2022 cannot be faulted, but it is sound. The Court of Appeal said in the circumstances, the only duty that the court has to discharge, having confirmed that the tribunal diligently and correctly discharged its duties in trying appellant's petition in accordance with the law, is to hold and thereby held that the tribunal correctly held that the appellants failed to prove ground 1 in their petition. And ground 1 having failed according to the court, there is no way the second issue may be resolved in favor of the appellants to the effect that the appellants will now score majority of the lawful vote cast at the governorship election in view of the outcome of the first issue in the appeal. It maintained that the tribunal was right to have taken the decision it arrived at. The appellants were wrong to have insisted that the tribunal is wrong. It stated that the law still remains that the petitioner who contests the legality or lawfulness of votes cast in an election and the subsequent result tendered in evidence or the necessary document by way of forms and other documents used in the election, which must be legible, he should not stop there. He must call witnesses to testify. The witnesses must be those who saw it all on the day of the election. The appeal court said the case of the appellants was inadequately presented through 19 witnesses who did not witness what they testified about, and the absence of hard copies of Forms EC8A, which is the primary document in the process of verification of results. Therefore, the complaints about wrongful collation of scores cannot be properly treated, and that the document downloaded from IREF are strictly meant to verify or confirm what is contained in the physical result of hard copies. It says that the law is clear that where a party decides to rely on documents to prove its case, there must be link between the document and specific areas of the petition. The Court of Appeal said the appellants failed abysmally to prove their claim of having won majority of lawful votes cast at the election, and that the appellants were not even sure or certain about the figures that the party scored at the election, and did not prove same at the trial because they did not demonstrate in the open court how figure was arrived at as the scores of the parties which contested the election through any witness. On issues number 3, whether having regard to the pleading upon proper evaluation of evidence and the correct application of the law, the tribunal was wrong when it dismissed the petition. However, the Court of Appeal said that the petition of the appellants was properly determined and therefore dismissed the appeal for lacking in merit. One of the issues that the Court of Appeal looked at during the judgment was the preliminary objection of the cross appeal by the second respondent, Senator Monday Okpebholo. The appellant had argued that grounds 1 to 4 of the notice of cross appeal are incompetent as they complained against the interlocutory decision of the tribunal. It was submitted that the cross appeal by the second respondent cross appeal was filed out of time, same be challenges to interlocutory rulings or decisions made in an election matter. The PDP announcement in Godalo said the cross appeal ought to have been filed within 14 days as mandated by paragraph 6(1) of the Election Judicial Proceedings Practice Directions. The appellant submitted that where the ground of interlocutory appeal is incorporated into a main notice of appeal, it is incumbent on the cross appellant to ensure he files his notice of cross appeal within 14 days so as not to find his interlocutory appeal to be out of time. On the contention that the record of cross appeal is incomplete, the Court of Appeal submitted that it was strange and misconceived stand as there is no requirement under the Election Judicial Proceedings Practice Directions for a cross appellant to compile a record of appeal, let alone to talk of the record being incompetent or not being complete. That the cross appeal and appeal in an election matter is taken as one appeal and cross appeal is entitled to rely on the main records, and that even if the records were incomplete, it did not affect the live issues in the cross appeal appeal as relating to grounds 1 to 4 of the notice of appeal. In the judgment, the Court of Appeal told the appellant counsel that there is no requirement for the cross-appellant to compile and transmit a separate record of cross-appeal or cause same to be compiled and transmitted, let alone conceived or raise the question of incomplete records of cross-appeal. On the issue of the beavers, the Court of Appeal said it is true that one Mr. Samuel Itodo brought in beavers machines and identified them as the ones he used at the election to the governorship seat of Edo State in question, to the extent that the tribunal alluded to certification as a true copy, saying that it was wrong as the beavers machines are not copies of documents nor can be certified. They were, however, admitted having been produced as hard or real evidence by a person who had not seen or seen those who used them. The court said the mere and bare existence of the 133 beavers machines as exhibit did not aid the appellant's case, nor could it be prejudiced the cross-appellant's case, as the content thereof has to be proved only in strict conformity with Section 84 of the Electoral Act on computer-generated evidence of witnesses, identifying the certified content produced, therefore the results, and speaking to them directly, and to be cross-examined on them. According to the court, Section 81(1) of the Evidence Act states that it is clearly mandatory and applicable to the content of a computer such as beavers machines produced and tendered. The evidence on the workability and state of the beavers machines shall not be by the certified alone, but by oral evidence of how it was obtained and operated to generate the results. The result must further be testified to by appropriate persons as either the maker, custodian, or participants who could identify and make comparison with other issues also identified properly. It maintained that dumping an address of cancer will not validate or make admissible evidence nor produce in accordance to law on which authenticity is not verified, saying that it is not permissible. The beavers machine, though a document in law, is real evidence which only can be proved in proceedings by evidence of a witness who may be cross-examined on it. The tendering of the beavers machines from the bar was not shown to the pursuant to the consensus of the parties at the pre-hearing session. It must be tendered only through a witness whose statement on oath had been front-loaded and filed along with the petition. Further, the appeal court said the answer elicited from the said Samuel Itodo of INEC that he had no physical access to the beavers machines during the election, yet he identified exhibit PJ1 as the beavers serial number and was able to identify exhibit PDC1 to PDC56 as the beavers extract tenders, exhibit PJB identified as the certificate of compliance, and described the document extracted from the beavers as screenshots. Based on this, the court said the beavers and extracted documents in the circumstance, even if relevant, had no probative value and the admissibility was rightly challenged. The court said the beavers was identified by a person who could not be trusted on the veracity of the exhibits and usage and content thereof, including retriever, saying that the PDP and Naso Ngodalo was not the best person to tender the document through their counsel as purportedly done, as that only ratified their existence as one of the documents parties had agreed to tender, but had not been tendered properly and by the right person or circumstances to be admissible. The court said the confirmation order made by the tribunal admitting exhibit PP DD1 to PP DD133 in evidence is in the circumstance insupportable and is found to be invalid, having been done contrary to clear provisions of statute which is extant. He concluded by saying that the order of the tribunal confirming the admissibility and admission of the beavers machine in evidence occasioned miscarriage of justice and was set aside, and thereafter expunged the records of the beavers machines from the records of the tribunal. Also, the Court of Appeal said the tribunal arrived at a perverse decision when it compared Section 134 of the Electoral Act 2022, which prescribed grounds for presenting a petition, with Section 51(1) and 2 and Section 73(2) of the Electoral Act. The court noted that the mere failure to fill electoral forms or fill them properly, contrary to the prescription of Section 73(2), would not be a sufficient ground capable of invalidating an election. Also, the court said whoever claims that an election is invalid in his petition cannot at the same time demand to be declared the winner of same election he condemned as invalid. It also stated that from the provisions of the law, it is instructively clear that the petitioner is required to state clearly the facts of the election petition, the ground on which the petition is based, and conclude with the relief sought, which must be related to the ground of the petition, and said it is the solemn rule which the appellants broke with their reliance on the first grant in their petition without stating the relief thereof. The 3-man justices of the Court of Appeal thereafter affirmed the judgment of the Justice Wilfred Bochi-led 3-man panel of the Edo State Governorship Election Petitions Tribunal.
As Edo people await what will likely be the finale in this legal battle, one thing is clear, that the court over time have maintained its stand that they are not cheerful giver. The court is not a cheerful giver. The court can only give what has been asked for. Things that stood out in the judgment of the appeal court and the lower court tribunal is that the petitioner and of course the appellant in this instance could not substantially prove the case of non-compliance. And of course they were not able to call polling unit agents, INEC officials, or even voters to testify, and that substantially affected the petition. And now we're looking forward to what will happen in the Supreme Court. But don't forget that the appeal court have also said that the temporary admissibility of the BeeTv machine was wrongly done by the tribunal, and that should not have been the case in the first instance, because tendering of such documents should not be from the bar, but from witnesses who before now or before then had front-loaded their statement on oath. Well, we're just here waiting, and every Edo people, interested parties, both at home and in diaspora, are waiting for the next line of action. And it's going to be a couple of days from now that the Supreme Court is expected to give verdict in the appeal by the PDP and its candidate, Dr. Asiswe Igodalo. And that's our special report for today. Thank you so very much for watching. My name is Best Orator.
As the rainy season sets in, a new concern is emerging among drinks vendors. Sellers across various areas says they're experiencing a drop in patronage, with many pointing to the wet weather as the main season. Our correspondent Faith Okisame, who interacted with some vendors, brings us more on this trend affecting both sellers and buyers alike.
If everywhere is raining, you can't go into any beer part to go and take some beer and two of us. You do sales. So if it's raining here, even these people that are selling here, they don't buy much.
Drink sellers are experiencing low patronage during this rainy season, leaving them with the risks of having unsold cold drinks banned, consequently a loss in profit. They said they are on their own whenever it rains, with their only option being to put their hope in God. A wholesale drink dealer confirmed that the weather determines the quantity of drinks he distributes to his customers. To justify his statement, he explained that the rainy season always brings about low sales in contrast to sunny weather, when they usually record more sales.
We have lower sales, but we put it in God's hand that we can live by God.
I said no. It's not affecting. No, it's not affecting. All right. Because people buy the drink. Because this is part, people are traveling every day, so people buy drink. So dry season means you sell.
Okay, I think that's a general question. Well, like me, I don't do more drinks, like the soft drinks. I don't do them much. But it's a natural thing. I think the weather takes out what you want. Then if you're in a cold season, I think the sales will drop a little bit. But if you're in a hot weather, the sales will increase. Because everybody at that particular time, we all need something that can get our energy up. So the natural thing, now that it's rain, there's a less consumption in intakes of mineral. Even in the other alcoholic sector, it will reduce.
A wholesale drink dealer confirmed that the weather determines the quantity of drinks he distributes to his customers. To justify his statement, he explained that the rainy season always brings about low sales in contrast to sunny weather, when they usually record more sales.
Now where's on day? Now they say part.
Why be like that?
No say at some they hot, they drink, they find cold. Yes, they find cold something.
Okay.
Yes,
okay.
This as rain they fall, so we they suffer and they meet us. No, we not the same money.
Yes, for now the weather do affect us small. When it is raining, we do say that the sales is not more high. It's a low sale. We call it low sales. Yes. When it is sunny, we sell more better. As it is now, we can sell most 50 crates a day, 100 a day when it is dry season.
Consumers are not left out, as they also indicated that the weather determines the amount of drinks they consume, resulting in lower consumption during the rainy season. Faith Okisame reporting for BeeTv News.
The Senate on Tuesday raised questions over the state of origin of Dr. Michael Ekpai-Ode, the presidential nominee for chairman of the Rivers State Independent Electoral Commission, RSIEC. The 18-member committee, chaired by the state leader, Opeyemi Bamidele, APC Ekiti Central, questioned the nomination during Mr. Ode's screening at the National Assembly.
Barely 6 days after President Bola Ahmed Tinubu submitted his name for Senate approval as chairman of Rivers State Independent Electoral Commission, Michael Ode, on Tuesday appears before the Senate at a committee on oversight of emergency rule in Rivers State. While Ode's credentials and even security reports were satisfactory, standing against his eligibility is a stiff conflict of interest over his state of origin, Cross River State, the same state as the sole administrator, Vice Admiral Ibok Ete Ibas, following presidential proclamation of state of emergency in the state in March. A member of the Senate panel, Adam Aliero, raised the matter seeking clarification whether or not it was appropriate for Ode to be appointed into the position outside of the state.
Constitution, and I don't know, maybe the River State law envisage that the nominee should be an indigene of the state, not somebody from outside the state.
In his defense, Ode admits he is from Cross River State and not Rivers, but argued strongly that nothing precludes anyone outside of River State to occupy the position.
I'm from Cross River State and retired staff of Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. I've been in the commission for the past 35 years and just retired in 2023.
Ode's explanation wasn't that convincing to the chairman of the ad hoc committee, Opeyemi Bamidele, who insisted on finding a solid legal ground to back the appointment of the presidential nominee.
Still, we need to look at it to be sure that it's not something that would be repugnant to public conscience. It has to be something that we're able to defend. So we'll take a second look at that. But as to eligibility criteria, otherwise, I mean.
6 other members of the Rivers State Independent Electoral Commission were also screened, with lawmakers raising concerns about the continuous relevance of state electoral bodies and whether or not they should be scrapped and their duties transferred to the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC.
The thought is of the opinion that local government elections, through the medium of constitutional amendment, should be transferred to the National Independent Electoral Commission to conduct local government elections.
Meanwhile, the sole administrator, Ibas, is expected to appear before the Senate committee to defend the state's 1.4 trillion naira budget for 2025 fiscal year. Harmony Agba for reporting for BeeTv News.
The Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice, Honorable Dr. Samson Raphael Osaige, has held a meeting with the heads and staff of the ministry to address the rendering of legal opinion without proper scrutiny and approval, as well as the unprofessional conduct within the Department of Public Prosecution. The report.
Sometimes I just nod my head, but it has come to a stage where I need to tell any of you that at any point in time, my stewardship in this ministry, I can defend it.
Addressing the heads and staff of the Department of Public Prosecution in what he termed unprofessionalism in the dispensation of public prosecution matters, the Edo State Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice, Honorable Dr. Samson Raphael Osaige, owing to the several complaints he has received concerning public prosecution, he convened the meeting to advise the staff of the Department of Public Prosecution to be cautious of how they render legal opinion, particularly in criminal cases, and they must get due approval from his office.
Sometimes I just nod my head, but it has come to a stage where I need to tell any of you that at any point in time, my stewardship in this ministry, I can defend it. Everything I set my hands on in this place, I can defend it
but you should be ready to defend yourself. Because it is not a guarantee that when the bullet comes, it must meet me first before it gets to you. It can get to you directly. So the purpose of this meeting, my dear colleagues, is to plead with all of us. Times are hard, we know. The very people you compromise with are the same people that repulse you. And as if that is not enough, when we render legal opinion on criminal matters, and it's not well researched, so I want to let us know that going forward, no legal opinion on any criminal matter leaves the Ministry of Justice unless the PS and I visit.
He further warned the members of the staff of the public prosecution to desist from any sharp practices capable of sabotaging the justice system.
I am going to open the flank for all of you to answer your father's name. Let's channel our energy more appropriately. If there are very serious matters, pass your legal opinion to the PS. It cannot take more than 24 hours to go through both of us and returned. After all, there have been legal opinion on a number of issues that have gone back and forth depending on the matter. Because when the trouble comes, the people that are going to take decision about you will not read the case file. If the PS sees what I don't see and I see what she doesn't see, then we can quickly compare notes. PS can agree in some cases, I will disagree with PS or agree with the person who rendered the opinion, and then we come out at a middle course that all of us can defend. This idea of legal opinion, says send it to two people for legal opinion, before you know it, some will stay a long time, some will not come out on time, some will go within 24 hours. We will no longer tolerate it.
The Permanent Secretary of the Ministry, Mrs. Agbavua, and the Director of the Department of Public Prosecution, Mr. Kingsley Adabi, acknowledged the concerns of the Honorable Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice and assured him that they will continue to do their best, holding the standard of the Department of Public Prosecution and the Ministry of Justice.
So let's be careful. So please, let's be careful. If you have, there are sensitive matters, some. They are community matters. You have interest. Such matters. Is the HLA here? Yes. Okay. Sensitive matters like that, you must bring to the attention of the authority.
That hint has been given loudly, and clearly we have heard you. We will apply that henceforth in carrying on with our responsibility. We also want to take the responsibility for what apparently would have happened at the ESCO today, and apologize indeed that it ever occurred. Like the Honorable the PS said, I've had, maybe I should say, the privilege, quote unquote, to meet with the HE, and I should know what it was today with you at the ESCO.
Resolutions were reached by the heads and staff of the department that going forward, no legal opinion on criminal matter must be given without proper approval from the Honorable Commissioner in the Ministry, and no leakage of official memos or documents to third parties without the Attorney General's knowledge, amongst others. Without the Attorney General's knowledge, amongst others. Best Orator reporting for BeeTv News.
The Nigerian Army is currently holding training exercises in Kano. Specifically, the officers are undergoing pre-training obstacle to arrest the incessant killings, cross-border terrorism, and communal clashes. The report is presented by Esohe Osewengi.
Nigeria faces several security challenges, including farmer-herders clashes, banditry, cross-border terrorism, and communal clashes. To address these issues, top military officers and soldiers are meeting in Kano for the Nigerian Army Combat Support Hands Training Week. The Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Olugemi Oluyede, represented by Major General Abubakar Dalule, emphasizes the need to explore homegrown solutions to security challenges.
He highlights the urgent need for combat support arms to explore homegrown solutions for addressing our security challenges. Of course, exploring homegrown solutions is a noble aspiration.
Speaking further, the Army chief said over-reliance on foreign military equipment has hindered the desired progress needed.
The Nigerian Army is looking inwards to develop capacity and build capabilities to be able to address security challenges. You will agree with me that looking inwards has become necessary because over-reliance on foreign military equipment, hardware and technology has continued to hinder our progress.
To effectively overcome Nigeria's current and emerging security threats, it is imperative to empower and encourage the combat support arms to embrace indigenous technological innovations.
The Kano State Governor, Haba Yusuf, represented by AVM Ibrahim Umar, retired, commended the Nigerian Army for its resilience in combating security challenges.
We recognize and deeply appreciate the unwavering commitment, professionalism, and sacrifices of our military personnel, both on the front lines and in critical support roles. To the combat support arms, your expertise in supporting the Nigerian Army forms the operational backbone of every mission.
The occasion featured a display of indigenous military equipment and hardware, showcasing the Army's readiness to overcome the security challenges. Sohe Osemegi, reporting for BeeTv News.
Business owners affected by a devastating flood in Mokwa in Niger State says they are still hopeful for an intervention as they struggle to recover from the disaster. They said they are waiting for government intervention. The report.
The flood waters may have receded, but the scars remain. Business owners in Mokwa are still counting their losses. Structures, machines and goods worth millions of naira or washed away. Amid ongoing aid distributions and expectations of a government resettlement plan, the business community remains in limbo. These entire blocks, now filled with sand, once housed rice mills and groundnut oil processing factories. One of the affected factory managers displays his company registration document. He says the flood swept away industrial machines worth trillions of millions of naira, truckloads of groundnut, rice and gallons of processed oil.
We used to go to Ogun State and take a food trailer that we are taking now. We are taking it at least about 45 million naira. So we don't talk of all this engine. So as rough estimate here now, we can talk about 300 million naira that we lost, not for the building, no, for the engines and also the goods we store down inside the factory.
We started this business in 2012, since when I finished my service. I finished my service 2012, so I have to start somewhere.
Some victims even share more harrowing tales. One man says he had gone to help his brother at a mining site where the flood began. By the time they returned, the water has swept away their wives and children, and one of the women was due to give birth that day.
16 matan aure biyu wanda dai wuce da su ruwa ya wuce da su to yanzu mun samu gawon shida in sauran gawon mutum 10 babu labarin su.
Tsakani da Allah mijina ya rasu tun bara, na rabu da shi, kayayyaki na duka da na kwaso daga gidan mijina duka na ajiye su ɗakin iyaye na, aure na watan gane za a ɗaura shi, amma yanzu babu komai, kaya duka sun bi ruwa, banda komai na aure.
The government has promised to provide temporary housing funds for displaced residents while working on a permanent resettlement. Governor Umar Bago says the IDP camp will be closed by the end of June. Sohe Osemegi, reporting for BeeTv News.
The Edo State House of Assembly on Wednesday held a valedictory session to honor the memory of former member of the State House of Assembly, late Engineer James Esene Akibi, who represented Agbazilo Central constituency from 1979 to 1983 during the defunct Bendel State. BeeTv News State House correspondent Usarige Awebo has details.
The body of late Engineer James Esene Akigbe, a former member of the House of Assembly who represented Agbazilo Central constituency from 1979 to 1983, elected under the platform of MPN, passed away on March 11, 2025 at the age of 92. Brought in for her final tribute where members of the 8th Assembly and family members of Engineer James Esene Akigbe paid their last respect to the late elder statesman. The former Deputy Speaker and member representing Esa Northeast Constituency 2, Honorable Mrs. Maria Edeko, presented a tribute and funeral oration in honor of late Engineer James Esene Akigbe.
Akigbe was a community leader at Dumu, Irua, and Waloke, respectively. He was very good to his people and administered the community with great love. Honorable Engineer Akigbe was the only son of the mother who also had other 5 daughters.
The lawmakers eulogized late Engineer James Esene Akigbe as a visionary leader, a champion of development, and a respected elder statesman who was devoted in serving his people.
I'm here not to celebrate the children and my constituency was represented and to tell them that whether, not because I'm saying it here, I'm very much assured, I'm very much aware that the body, the soul of Honorable Engineer James Esene Akigbe is rejoicing in eternity, rejoicing with the Lord in eternity.
But I'm not celebrating him because of the longevity of the age, yet the quality of the life. Because listening to the member representing Esa Northeast 2, giving her rendition on Papa's experts, both in the academics and in the infrastructural design of the reformed United States.
But what is important in life is what you have done and you remember for. So I believe that should be our whole guide in our life now, because those are the life that are very dead. So we that are alive today now should learn from this and see what impact we can also put on ground where we are here working now.
It's a very good thing that he lived well. I have not met him before, but I have read a little about him. And at the same time, I'm joining my colleagues to stand with the family at this critical time. I wish you all the best.
The eldest daughter of late Engineer James Esene Akigbe, Mrs. Isi Iyang Ni Akigbe, who spoke on behalf of the family, thanked the lawmakers for the honor bestowed on her father.
After the betterment of his village, his town, his state, and everybody else around him. And as a result of these characteristics, his people prevailed on him to run for office. His community testifies to the legacy of service. After retirement and until his death, he continued to serve his community.
The lawmakers offered prayers for the repose of late Engineer James Esene Akigbe as they fared past his remains, showing their respect. Late Engineer James Esene Akigbe, born on March 13, 1993, passed away on March 11, 2025. Osarogie Agwebo, reporting for BeeTv News.
A growing number of Nigerians are falling into severe emotional and psychological distress as a result of mounting debts owed to loan sharks raising alarm among mental health professionals and financial experts. BeeTv News' God Gift Omone has the report.
The constant debate on the pressure mounted on citizens by online loan apps and amateur loan sharks raises a cry for concern. Investigations reveal that the aggressive tactics employed by these unregulated lenders, often including public shaming, threats, and harassment, are driving many borrowers into anxiety, depression, and in some cases, suicidal thoughts. Affected residents had turned to these quick loan apps to meet urgent needs, but the high interest rates and hidden charges quickly spiral beyond their capacity and making repayment seem difficult.
Talking about loan online, as in they will just send you something like an offer. You receive a message on your phone that you can borrow this, you can borrow that. There was a day I tried to give it a try. You understand? I think the money was about 20,000 naira. Only for me to discover that the deduction, regular deduction, I can't even tell how much was deducted, how much I paid for that 20,000 loan. You understand? By the time you think they must have, the thing has stopped. You understand? Only for you to discover the following month, you will discover for so. So that's for the commercial banks. But as for this online bank, their own is even worse. They deduct at will. They may tell you is 5%, 1%, 0%. But by the time the people get into it, you can't even tell the percentage. They will tell you how much is left. By the time the person now missed a day, you understand? Then they now bring another bill. It's not regulated.
As a precautionary method, residents advise that taking a loan above a 20% interest rate should be avoided, especially for salary earners and business owners.
And you should not take a loan above 20% of your income so that it will be easier for you to cope. Because if you do that, at the end of the day, maybe you run into crisis, you won't be able to, pay, especially when we're talking about those who are earning money like salary earners. And for those who are in business, you must watch out critically that your investment, where you want to invest, your money will not elude you, we have fraudsters, we have people who tell you this business is good. At the end of the day, when you go into it, it's not as they told you. So you have to watch out for all those before, investing your money. You must test run your business before, taking a loan to, expand the business or go into the business.
Health experts warn that the psychological toll of these practices is becoming a public health concern. Victims often experience sleeplessness, panic attacks, and feelings of hopelessness. In some reported cases, debt-induced mental breakdowns have led to hospitalization or worse. Despite regulatory warnings from the Central Bank of Nigeria and the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission, many of these digital lenders continue to operate under different names, exploiting loopholes in enforcement and consumer awareness. A stronger legislation, improved financial literacy, and better access to formal microcredit options to help vulnerable citizens avoid exploitative lenders. Also urging the integration of mental health support in financial counseling services as debt-related trauma continues to rise across the country. God's Gift Omone, reporting for BeeTv News.
And now to the global scenes, where controversial Kenyan televangelist Gilbert Deya, known for claiming he could create miraculous pregnancies, has died in a road accident near Kisumu, Western Kenya. Also, Kenya protesters clash with men wielding clubs.
Controversial Kenyan televangelist Gilbert Deya, known for claiming he could create miraculous pregnancies, has died in a road accident near Kisumu, Western Kenya. The crash involving his vehicle, a university bus, and another car also left about 30 people injured, including his wife and 15 students. Deya, who once ran a church in London, became infamous in the early 2000s for his claims, but was later linked to an alleged child trafficking ring, leading to his extradition from the UK. He was acquitted of the charges 2 years ago due to lack of evidence. Siaya County Governor James Orengo expressed sorrow over his death. Protesters in Nairobi have clashed with young men carrying clubs believed to be government loyalists during demonstrations over the death of blogger Albert Ojwang in police custody. Police initially claimed he died by suicide, but an autopsy indicated he was assaulted, leading to the arrest of 2 officers. Some of the armed men appeared to cooperate with police, who also used tear gas. A protester was critically injured by police gunfire. Deputy Police Chief Eluid Lagat, who filed the defamation complaint that led to Ojwang's arrest, has stepped aside, but protesters are demanding his full resignation and arrest. The city remains tensed with many businesses closed as activists prepare for a major shutdown next week, drawing parallels to last year's protest against the controversial finance bill. Debate over whether the US should join Israel in attacking Iran has exposed deep divisions among Donald Trump's supporters. While Trump considers targeting Iran's nuclear facilities, some Republicans fear another foreign entanglement. Isolations like Congressman Thomas Massie and commentator Tucker Carlson argue against intervention, while hawkish figures like Senators Lindsey Graham and Mitch McConnell push for action. The dispute has led to public clashes, including a heated exchange between Carlson and Senator Ted Cruz. Trump's former strategist Steve Bannon warned that the war could fracture Trump's political base, while Vice President J.D. Vance acknowledged both the risk and the president's authority to act. Despite these divisions, a recent poll shows strong support among Trump voters for aiding Israel against Iran. As tensions escalate, Trump's stance may soon clarify whether he remains committed to his America First isolationism or shifts toward intervention. And that is all coming from the global scenes. Harmony Agbafor reporting for BeeTv News.
Several Nigerian celebrities and social media personalities have been nominated for the 2025 edition of the prestigious Trend Up African Awards. The awards aim at recognizing individuals and organizations that are using digital platforms to influence, inspire, and impact society, are set to highlight some of the most notable names in entertainment, digital media, and online activism. Let's join BeeTv News' Faith Okisame for details and more from the entertainment world.
Among the top nominees are chess champion and education advocate Tunde Onakoya, award-winning actresses Bimbo Ademoye, Ruth Kadiri, and Nasi Isime, filmmaker and activist Omoni Oboli, and screen star Regina Daniels. Others on the nomination list include fashion and lifestyle influencer Priscilla Ojo, online comedian Sabinus, food critic Opeyemi Famakin, popular skit makers Brain Jota and Taoma, and nightlife entrepreneur Bana Chief Priest. Digital content creators Kiki, Eniola, Ade Oluwa, and Pella also made the list. The Trend Up Awards, widely regarded as Nigeria's first ever platform to reward creativity and influence in digital space, continues to expand its reach and relevance across Africa. This year's jury features a diverse panel of respected figures, including celebrity photographer Kelechi Amadi Obi, media entrepreneur Sam Oyeme Lukwe, Ghanaian blogger Omeya Deborah, and Nollywood actress Iyabo Ojo. The 2025 award ceremony is expected to attract leading influencers and brands from across the continent. Nigerian comedian Efe Wariboy has condemned Benue State Governor Hyacinth Alia for declaring a public holiday to receive President Bola Ahmed Tinubu during his one-day visit to the state despite recent killings in the state. According to a statement released by the Secretary of the State Government, Serum Deborah Ambe, Wednesday, June 18th, was declared a public holiday to allow residents of Benue to come out en masse in welcoming the president. The declaration, however, drew sharp criticism from citizens and public figures, with Efe Wariboy leading the charge. In a video posted to his social Instagram page, the comedian described the move as disrespectful and tone-deaf, given that the state is still mourning victims of the Yelewata massacre, an attack that reportedly claimed multiple lives. Efe's statement has since grown viral, with many Nigerians expressing outrage on social media and questioning the priorities of the Benue State government. Derek Dixon, the actor known for his role as Dale in Tyler Perry's The Oval, has filed a $260 million lawsuit against the media mogul alleging sexual harassment, assault, and emotional distress. In court document obtained by TMZ, Dixon claims that the situation began in 2019 where he met at an industry event. According to him, Perry has expressed interest in his work, took his contact information, and later offered him a minor role in the BET Plus series Ruthless. Not long after, Dixon was invited to Perry's home in Atlanta. During one of the visits, Dixon says he consumed alcohol, passed in the guest room, and awoke to Perry allegedly lying beside him, touching his thighs. He claims he rejected the advance but was later pressured through sexually charged text messages and inappropriate behavior. The situation escalated in 2021 when, according to Dixon, Perry entered his guest room, hugged him, put him down his downwear, and grabbed him. Dixon says he deflected and avoided further contact. Fearing his acting career, he remained silent until June 2024 when he filed an official complaint with the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission (EEOC). He has left the Oval, stating that he no longer works under these circumstances. In response, Tyler Perry attorney Matthew Bird has dismissed the allegations, calling the lawsuit a scam and vowing that Perry would not be shaken down. British Nigeria boxing champion Anthony Joshua has stirred a wave of reactions across West Africa following his glowing remarks about Ghana during a recent visit. Joshua, who was in Accra for the Legacy Rise Sports Battle of the Beast boxing event on June 13, 2025, met with the former President John Dramani Mahama at the Jubilee House. In a widely shared Instagram video, Joshua admitted that his perception of Ghana had been shaped by inaccurate comments from some Nigerians. His comments were made during a courtesy call and quickly went viral, sparking renewed online banter about the friendly rivalry between Ghana and Nigeria. During his stay, Joshua engaged in a variety of cultural and social activities, including touring local markets and meeting community leaders. His presence was part of a broader effort by Sharaf Mahama, son of the former president, to promote youth empowerment through sports. In a gesture of appreciation, Ghanaian businessman Ibrahim Mahama gifted Joshua a brand new Honda motorbike reportedly worth between $10,000 and $18,000. Videos of Joshua riding the motorbike through the streets of Accra generated widespread entertainment. Faith Okisame reporting for BeeTv News.
And that is the size of our news package for tonight. Many thanks for joining us on BeeTv Major News. I remain Evelyn Izibili. Thank you and have a good night.